Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the Command Post. You know what it is. Post up, take command. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Whew. What a day. What a day. What a day. Obviously, it's after 11 p.m. on the Eastern side of things, Eastern time zone. And that means it's been a long day if we're just starting the show at this late hour of the night. But I was determined to get a show off. Probably going to be out of the office most of the weekend, so there wasn't going to be another opportunity to do this. So I really wanted to come on and chop it up with you. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'm going to keep it a buck with you guys. During the course of the week, there isn't anything that I would rather do to unwind on a weekday night than kick it with you guys and chop it up, talk about the team. And so this is going to be relaxing for me after a long, strenuous day, a lot of driving. I told you guys I was going to go to a season ticket holder event, which was my first one. So for those of you who are in the Mob Squad, I got the season tickets that I told you I was going to purchase, and I'll be giving those away for each home game. Looking forward to giving those away and putting some Commanders butts in seats, as I like to say. Now I can complain about the stadium not being full with Commanders fans and allowing other teams' fans to take over, because I've done my part now, okay? I may not physically be there, but I've purchased 2 seats for someone that is a fan of this team to be in attendance. So now I can complain, and I'm looking forward to doing that if they do not fill up the stadium with Commanders fans and other fans still infiltrate the stadium, take over, and make it feel like a road game. You will hear my mouth now because I have the right to complain. So I'll tell you how that event went. A little disappointed about how it turned out, but it did not go in vain. There were some things that I was able to accomplish, and I'll talk about those things a little bit later on. But this is more about, and I want to start off this show talking about the week that was out at the command center rather, with this team. Final round of voluntary OTAs. Okay, now we're getting into the mandatory portion, the involuntary portion of as I like to call them, off-season training activities, but it's really they're really organized team activities. Either way, now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. Still no pads, no hitting, anything like that, but you're still going to find out a little bit more because everyone is supposed to be present. And so now the question becomes, will Terry show up? Will Daron Payne be an attendee? Those two were not present this time around, and Terry wasn't present the time before either. Daron was present last time, but wasn't present this time around. So it'll be interesting to see if either one of those dudes decide that these mandatory mini camps aren't their speed until they get their contract. I have already been on record to say that I expect both of them to be in attendance. Now, will they perform? Will they actually do any of the drills? Probably not. And I wouldn't if I were either one of them looking for a brand new deal. Now, in the case of Daron Payne, I don't think he's getting a deal, to be honest with you. I've already stressed this before. At least not this offseason. Maybe if he has a really good season this upcoming year, they may rethink that whole situation and decide that this is a guy they can't afford to cut loose and maybe slap the franchise tag on him if they can't come to some kind of agreement on a long-term deal. Again, once you get to the point where the player has you by the balls, by the scrotum, where you get to that franchise tag situation, unless that player truly wants to be there, you probably shouldn't slap the franchise tag on that guy, because it's going to end the same way it ended with Kirk Cousins. It's going to end the same way it ended with Brandon Sheriff, where that player strings you along, you slap the franchise tag on that guy multiple times, and then he finally gets to that third year where you can't afford to slap the franchise tag on him. He leaves and gets big money elsewhere. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of resources. So if you get to that point where Daron Payne is like, okay, now you want to come calling. I got 10.5 sacks this year. Now you want to come calling. Now you want to talk to my agent. Now you want to talk turkey. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Then you get to a point where you're like, well, he can't leave. We'll slap the franchise tag, and he'll gladly sign that, even though he wants a long-term deal. He'll gladly sign for that 1 year, X amount of $1 million. And if he stays healthy, if he continues to play well, he'll milk the system, just like those other guys did in the past. So I surmise that this is his last year in Washington. We'll see what happens. But I don't expect him to be as aggressive as Terry is in terms of pushing the agenda to get a deal done. He wants a deal, clearly. He would like to remain in Washington. That is also apparent, but I don't know if the feeling is mutual or not. We will see. However, Terry will get his deal. Again, I have to reiterate that for some of you out there, because a lot of you are nervous. A lot of you continue to get a little antsy when you see all of the things that have transpired with these other receivers. I talked about DK Metcalf recently holding out of mandatory minis in Seattle. And so some of you are starting to get a little bit nervous as to what it could mean for Terry. And I told you, their situation isn't our situation. Terry's going to remain a member of this organization. He's too important to the fabric of what they're trying to instill here in Washington, not only on the field, where his play has been one of the few consummate and constants, he's been a consummate professional on and off the field, but one of the true constants on the field, one of the few guys we've been able to rely on week in, week out, but also off the field. This guy is tremendous. He stands for everything that they want this organization to embody. And so Terry's too big a part of this organization as it currently stands to let him walk away. He'll get his money. And like I said, it'll probably be mid to late July when it takes place, but it will take place. So he was a no-show. So was Daron Payne for this last round of OTAs. Again, one of the storylines was Curtis Samuel being out. Also, kind of lost in that whole dialogue was the fact that Antonio Gibson had a hamstring. But again, it's June. I'm not worried about any injuries that are minor. And, Curtis Samuel, never, ever trust a man with 2 first names sitting out of an OTA session due to soreness doesn't bother me in June. Antonio Gibson sitting out of practice due to hamstring tightness doesn't bother me in June. Come talk to me in late August, early September, and having these same issues, I will have a different tone. But we're talking about a hamstring and soreness in June. It doesn't register with me. It doesn't resonate. So I'm not worried. And I'm telling you, neither should you. Okay. Again, if this is something that lingers, if this is something that continues to be a problem, if we get into training camp and we're hearing about guys missing camp because of this nick and that knack, then yes, we can start having those kinds of conversations, and that dialogue can start to really ramp up. But for right now, I look at it as a situation where it's a non-story, right? But what is a story was your defensive coordinator, okay? Your defensive coordinator, Jack Del Rio, and what he had to say during OTAs this week. That was the thing that caused the biggest media stir. It was the one topic anybody really wanted to talk about leaving this round of OTAs. And I've said my 2% on that. I've said my piece. At the end of the day, I'll kind of encapsulate my overall thoughts on the situation. It's not about whether Jack was wrong or right. We can agree to disagree. I don't agree with his viewpoints. I never have. I already knew what we were dealing with when he got the job. I told Ron, you might want to check your mans at the door. He's talking reckless, and you might have players who are primarily black on the roster that might feel some type of way. Clearly, our roster doesn't have guys that are woke or willing to speak up, which is fine. I'm not looking for anybody to cause a stir because, again, that's the opposite of what I'm looking to do here. So I already knew what I was dealing with. And I always tell you guys, I'd rather deal with the devil that I know than the devil that I don't know. So from that standpoint, I already knew how Jack felt. And, you know, him saying what he said didn't surprise me. It didn't move me. I just said, oh, Jack, why? You know, essentially because it's another distraction that we don't need. Now, it's June, okay? And I surmise, because we've got enough of a sample size to be able to say this, when the season gets underway, we don't hear from Jack. He doesn't post on social media. He's not a problem. It's only in the offseason where Jack feels the need to voice his opinion on socials and get into back and forths with people where he's telling them to bite D's and stupid shit like that. It's only in the offseason when he's got too much time on his hands where he gets into these types of verbal spats on social media. However, it is a distraction, and an unnecessary one at that, for a team that has plenty of distractions. And my stance is I don't want any more distractions. I just want to win, okay? It's not about whether Jack was right or Jack was wrong. I don't give a shit, okay? I don't want to have that conversation with you, okay? Because I don't care. All I care about is this team winning. And Jack saying and doing what he did on Tuesday isn't Wednesday, actually, it was yesterday, isn't going to lend itself to us winning. All right. It's not conducive in terms of the environment that it creates for us to win. It's not going to bring this team any closer together. It's not going to create a us against them mentality. It's only going to do what I say politics always does in this country. It's going to be divisive. It's going to start creating little pockets in the locker room. We don't want that, okay? So again, I don't care about whether Jack was right or wrong. I saw a lot of you. I agree with Jack. I don't give a shit. I don't care about whether you agree with Jack or not. The point is, he was wrong in having this discussion surrounding this team in his nonsense. That's the part that wasn't right. There's no right or wrong there to be debated. He was wrong because it caused unnecessary conversations to be occurring around this team that we don't need. We already got enough of them. We already have enough distractions. Trust me. You know it and I know it. The only thing that I'm concerned with, and I tell you this all the time, so this is not new news to you, is I want to win. I only care about one thing, and that is winning. And what he did wasn't helping us win football games. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a distraction, and it's not a good thing. Frankly, he needs to be better as a defensive coordinator. If we're keeping it a buck, you know, you want to be you want to be outspoken, you want to say this, you want to say that, and then you want to throw at the end. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation about you being a better defensive coordinator. Let's have a conversation about that, because right now, that's what I'm most concerned with. Not the dust up on January 6th, 2021. Or I'm more concerned with you being a better defensive coordinator, because we have talent defensively, okay, that we feel as fans have underachieved under your watch. So as far as I'm concerned, when we're not playing Nick Mullins, or we're not playing against Ryan Finley, or we're not playing against Jalen Hurts as a rookie, or we're not playing against Andy Dalton or Ben DiNucci, we're getting our asses kicked defensively. So I'd like to see you actually get this defense whipped into shape so that when we play good teams with really good quarterbacks, we don't get our asses handed to us. That's what I want to have a conversation about. Not about how you feel about politics or being American or being patriotic, as you like to call it. I want to have a conversation about you getting this defense going in the right direction and getting the most out of Montez Sweat and Chase Young and Deron Payne and Cole Holcomb and William Jackson III and Benjamin St-Juste and Kendall Fuller. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about Jamin Davis looking good in his second year because you're putting him in the right positions to make plays. That's what I want to have a conversation about. So that's where I'm at with mine. You can be wherever you want to be with yours. That's where I'm at with mine. So I thought Jack unnecessarily created a firestorm, a media firestorm. Again, it's June. Okay, so if this is still something that we're talking about as we head to training camp in July, now it's a problem. Right now, it's annoying. Okay, it's a little blip. It's nothing to talk about in June in the NFL space. So we're going to gravitate to any story and we're going to blow it out of proportion because that's what we do when there's nothing to talk about in the NFL space. So yeah, it's a big deal now. It should be a non-story unless someone makes it a story come July, which is when I start caring about everything that happens with this team. Every day they're at practice, I want to know what went down because it becomes real when we hit training camp in July. So if this is a story in July as we come to camp, now I have a problem. If Cam Curl is being asked about Jack Del Rio's comments and how he feels about Jack Del Rio, that's a problem for me. Cam Curl didn't say anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't put himself in a position to have to be asked these types of questions. That's why this is a distraction that we don't need. Because I don't need players having to address something that they have nothing to do with. So anyway, I digress. So I talked about one of the standouts so far in OTAs throughout the entire process, not just this round of OTAs, but really the entire offseason. A guy that has been impressive is Derek Forrest, the 5th round pick safety out of Cincinnati from last year's draft class. We are really looking forward to seeing a lot of these guys in year number 2. Derek Forrest was not one of the guys that was on my radar. Looking into my crystal ball of guys that could be, in that second year blossoming stage, Derek Forrest wasn't on my list of guys. It was really just Jamin Davis, a guy that I was looking forward to seeing play in a much more comfortable state and position on the football field. It was, of course, Sam Cosmi, who we felt like played extremely well when healthy last year at right tackle. It was going to be De'Ami Brown and Benjamin St. Juste, both of the 3rd round picks from last year's draft. Those were the guys that we were really fixated on as to whether they could come in. And also John Bates was another guy that we were really looking forward to seeing if he could take another step forward. After a nice, strong finish to the season last year, I thought, yeah, maybe we could see something from him. I think he's a TE3 at best, but some of you think he's a TE2. If given the opportunity, we'll see. At the end of the day, he's got value on this roster, whether it's TE2 or TE3. So I was looking forward to seeing if he could take the next step as well. But Derek Forrest wasn't on that list. Maybe he should be. After hearing some of the strides and leaps and bounds that he's making and taking during these periods, again, not going 110% in terms of speed. He's a big hitter. So that's not something I worry about physicality or anything like that. But he is a guy that missed tackles. He is a guy that is looking for the big hit, doesn't always wrap up. So these are things that could become pet peeves. They were pet peeves for me when I broke down his film. Takes poor angles, not always where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. So I looked at him as more of a special teams guy, and he is. He's a core special teamer. But maybe he can be more of a contributor defensively than I gave him credit for initially. Looking forward to seeing if he can maybe take a massive step from a guy that was looked upon as strictly a special teams player to now maybe a guy that can contribute on the defensive side of the football. So that's another conversation that kind of started to really grow legs this week from some of the plays that he made. And then, people started to say, you know what, this guy's actually been really good all offseason to this point. He's flashed. He looks a lot more comfortable, seems to have a better handle on what he is supposed to be doing, what his responsibilities are. He's attacking the football more aggressively, not thinking as much, but going out and playing. So that's always a good sign that the game's starting to slow down for a player when they start moving a lot faster, a lot less thinking, a lot more doing. And so we're hoping that's going to be the case for a lot of these 2nd and 3rd year players that are on the roster that are in a position to take a huge step forward. We're hoping that that is the case for a lot of these guys. So, this is going to be an interesting season because what I understood, so tonight in going to this, so what this thing was a behind the scenes look at the rebrand. Like they were kind of tying up all loose ends of the rebrand and kind of talking about how we got to the point that we're at right now with this rebrand of the Commanders. And so what watching tonight and listening to them talk really hammered home for me as a fan is that there is a renewed hope in restoration of what was once a proud franchise, now looking to rebrand itself, repackage itself as the Commanders. There are going to be a lot of people that want nothing to do with the Commanders, and there's nothing you can do about that. They're stuck on Redskins and what was once a storied franchise that is no more, and they can't get over the fact that this team is no longer called Redskins, and that's fine. Again, I'm not going to be the one to tell you how you should or shouldn't feel, but what I have heard and what I've seen just from talking to you, and I told you I don't always like to base my decisions off of what we have here because we're insulated in our own little bubble here. You know, my little 20,000 subscribers or whatnot, you know, the videos that we do, this is our community. We're insulated. Like Daniel Snyder, he's insulated. So he's not always privy to what's being said about him. He's not always aware of where he actually sits in the pantheon of NFL owners or where his place is in this community and how we truly feel about him as an owner. When he's going to these events where the season ticket holders and the people that will support this team no matter what show up, or as we like to call them, the Harvest Festival crowd shows up, he feels like, hey, I'm doing a great job. These guys, they love us. And, you know, we just got to win football games and everything will be fine. And so he's in his own little bubble, right? But if he stepped out of that bubble, out of his comfort zone, he'd know he's one of the most hated owners in all of sports, not just in the NFL, in sports. And so I think there may be just no, I'm not giving him any credit because he's not shown a single strand of self-awareness to this point, him nor his wife. So I can't even give them the credit and the benefit of the doubt to say that they know how a lot of people feel about them. I'll just say this. In looking at this entire rebrand, I do think there's a sense that I have gathered, not just from talking to you guys, but also just being out and about, now living in the DMV area and seeing a lot of these people and talking to some of them. I have gathered this sense that there's a renewed hope in this team being brand new and having a chance. And some of that has to do with the roster. Some of it has to do with Ron Rivera and people like myself believing in Ron Rivera and what he could potentially mean for this organization and the direction of this program. Jason Wright is also a huge part, and it was a pleasure to meet him for the first time tonight. I look forward to chopping it up with him in the future because I assume that there will be more events like this, and I'll pick and choose which ones I want to attend. And they probably won't all be for me, but I assume that I will run into him and cross paths with him on numerous occasions. But it was a delight to meet him for the very first time. Very jovial guy, easy to talk to, down to earth. Everything I heard about him before meeting him from people that had met him before was spot on. You know, the guy is awesome. And again, I look forward to talking to him in the future. That said, he said something, and there are about 3 or 4 things that he said throughout the course of the evening that resonated with me. But one of those things were that the season tickets were up. He has no reason to lie, right? Because at the end of the day, the asses in seats will reflect itself come week 1 versus Jacksonville, come week 3 versus Philadelphia. You know, we will know if season ticket holders are actually going to games or if they're purchasing tickets only to sell them to the highest bidder, and Jacksonville Jaguars fans are infiltrating our building. Eagles fans are going to be in the stands. We can't stop Philadelphia Eagles fans from making the trip down to FedEx Field. However, yeah, I said that right. But what we can do is block some of them from coming into the stadium. Haven't done that in the last 5-6 years, it feels like. But with this new rebrand, with the Commanders now, with all the excitement that's being generated, and Jason Wright said, hey, we're up 20,000 season tickets this year. You know, since I got here, he said. It's not this year. Since I've gotten here, we're up 20,000. I believe him. I have no reason to think that he's lying. He's been pretty transparent since he's gotten here. So if that is in fact the case, you know, still have a ways to go, clearly. And there are people like myself who really don't have any interest in being in that building, FedEx Field, until we get a brand new stadium. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but you know what you can do to take a shortcut? I've said this before, I'll say it again. Ron and company have said this all offseason. The players are starting to get the message. You just win, man. Just win football games, and everything else will take care of itself. I will sit here and talk all the shit that I want about not wanting to go to FedEx Field because there's nothing there for me. But if it's a big enough game and a big enough spot, me and my wife will be in attendance at FedEx Field watching the football game. So again, you win and it changes everything. So they've got a chance to do that this year. You know, I think a lot of the excitement of this fan base stems from the rebrand. And let me tell you about the jerseys. So finally got to see them up close and personal because, you know, sometimes when you see things online, it becomes somewhat distorted. And for one, so the white on whites, right? The white jerseys, that the numbers, they looked red to me. They didn't look burgundy. That was one of the complaints that a lot of people had when the jerseys were first released on social media and we got to look at them. And you're like, that number doesn't look quite the color that I feel like it should. It doesn't really reflect the burgundy that we have come to know and love. Well, I'm here to tell you, I saw the jerseys, all three of them in person today. And the burgundy on the white jerseys are burgundy, like this hat, like my shirt. It's burgundy. It's not red. It's not this, you know, fuchsia-like color. It's burgundy. So again, when you see things in person, it gives it better perspective. And also, he talked about the jerseys, and he did answer a couple of questions that I may have had I had a chance to talk to him. So let me give you a little bit of background information on the event that I attended. As I mentioned at the top of the show, it was a event that was centered around the rebrand and kind of like encapsulating the entire journey and process of the rebrand from start to finish to where we are now and where we're going into the future. And so one of their content brand managers was there. He was in attendance. He spoke alongside Jason Wright on the panel. And Jason Wright talked about how they landed on Commanders. So for you Red Wolves fans out there, remember, they talked about this in the Making the Brand video, but I'll rehash this quickly. He pretty much said, and this is something that they didn't disclose, like, you know, when you're a member of these, you know, different groups, they try to disclose a little bit more to you to make you feel like you're a part of something special, right? So one of the things that he told us was that when it came to Red Wolves, so he talked about just about all the names that were really popular and why they scratched them off the list. Like he talked about Warriors and why they scratched Warriors off the list. Because remember, he said, before I even got here, Warriors was one of the preferred names of this organization. Mainly, he was talking about Daniel Snyder without saying his name. But remember, we heard that. Kevin Sheehan had said that a long time ago that, you know, Warriors was the name that Dan wanted. And they actually had a trademarking for the name Warriors, and they let it lapse. They let it run out, and they didn't have it. So Warriors was a name that was thrown about within the organization, not just recently when they were going through the rebranding process, but prior to it, because Dan, he knew that this day of reckoning was going to come at some point. So they weren't really as prepared as they should have been, but they were semi-prepared just in the event that something transpired. That said, he said Warriors, they actually went and talked to some Native Americans. And what they found, they talked to those indigenous people, and they weren't really thrilled about Warriors. They felt like it was a negative connotation. And, you know, Jason Wright said, you know, I'm a logical guy, and I think I'm pretty smart. And so I tried to argue against, like, hey, Warriors can mean something else. It could be, you know, a Greek warrior. It doesn't have to necessarily be a Native American or an indigenous warrior. And they weren't trying to hear that. And so he's like, look, we said we wanted your opinion and we wanted you to be a part of this process in terms of where we went next. And if you're telling us you don't want Warriors, we won't do Warriors. Because he said the one thing that was the most important in making this brand and creating a new team nickname and moniker was that it couldn't be controversial. That's the first thing, because you're looking to get a new name and have it be the new name until eternity, the end of time, right? You're not looking to do this again. So the one thing they did not want to do was be in a position where they came up with a new nickname and all of a sudden they pissed someone off and now they're going through this process again. Speaking of pissing people off, he talked about Red Wolves. He said that was a favorite among the demographic of people in the age range of 20s and early to mid 30s, which he's not wrong. Most of the people that were gung-ho about Red Wolves were the younger demographic. Older people are like, man, get the hell out of here with the Red Wolves shit. Sounds like some 8th grade, Pop Warner football team or something like that, or some rec league basketball team. I told you I didn't care what the name was. So if it was Red Wolves, cool, I would have rolled with it. But a lot of the younger fans wanted Red Wolves. They were dead set on it. And there were some people also that were older, like Fred Smoot, for instance, was huge on Red Wolves, and he wanted them to name the team the Red Wolves. But at the end of the day, he said they had done a lot of polling. They talked to a lot of people. But the biggest thing that they ran into, the biggest stumbling block with Red Wolves, was every time they tried to create a logo or they tried to create imagery with the Red Wolves Association, they would take it to their trademark guy, who would run it through the trademark and patent office, and it would come back being red flagged, like, hey, you're going to run into an issue here with the Minnesota Timberwolves, or you're going to run into an issue here with fill in the blank team that has a wolf as their mascot. He said, and what that was going to end up doing was he said that they could have done it, but it would have tied them up in litigation. They would have been fighting each and every single step of the way, even after the name was made. And he's like, we just didn't want to do that. If we're going to come up with a name, we want to be free from all of that bondage. We want to be able to create, different things. Like he said, the 4th uniform. Remember, that was something that he promised us when they first rebranded and launched the new unis. He's like, hey, we're going to have a 4th uniform coming down the pipeline, and we're going to have you guys be a part of that. And he said, we can't do a 4th uniform if we're tied up in litigation trying to stave off teams from suing us because our imagery looks too much like theirs, or they feel like we're stealing something from theirs. So they couldn't go in that direction. So they X'd out Red Wolves. And then he talked about the uniform, and he said Commanders was a strong name, this, that, and the third. We've heard all of that stuff. So nothing new there as to why they landed on Commanders. It was easy. It was the easiest. It made the most sense to them. I got no problems with it. So he talked about the uniforms. This was interesting. This is probably the most interesting thing that he said of the night. So he talked about the uniforms, and he said one of the, they did a bunch of focus groups, and he said one of the things that they found out immediately when it came to the uniforms was that the fan base wanted a black alternate uniform. They wanted an alt black uni, and that's something that was really important to them. And I gotta say, as a fan that has been talking to other fans for a very long time, that is something that I've heard ad nauseum. I want a black uniform. I want a black uniform. I want a black uniform. We were never going to have that as Redskins. That was never going to be the case. So this was an opportunity to give the fans something that they've wanted for a very long time. So he said, we knew we wanted a black alternate uniform, but he said, here's the problem. The NFL is so bureaucratic when it comes to the rules with these uniforms. He's like, I didn't know just how petty they could be with uniforms and how tedious the process was for getting something cleared through the league. But he's like, I know now. So one of the things he disclosed about uniforms in the NFL, and this was all new to me, which is why I was fascinated with this particular discussion, was that the uniforms that you have, if you have so first of all, you're allowed to have 4 different uniforms, right? And of the 4, you have to wear your home and away a certain amount of times throughout the course of the season. You are only able to wear your alt uniforms 4 times in the course of a season. That's it. You're only allowed to have 2 helmets. I already knew that, and most of you already knew. You're only allowed to have 2 helmets. So generally with teams that have an alternate helmet, you have your 1 helmet, even if remember when the Rams were making the switch to their new logo, their new brand, and they hadn't had the new jerseys yet. So when they would wear their old Rams jerseys, they would still wear the new helmets. It looked weird. It looked funky. That's because they couldn't have but 2 helmets. So they already had 2 helmets. They didn't want to put a 3rd helmet out there because remember, they were wearing the blue and yellow helmets, and then they were wearing the white and blue helmets. So when they would wear the gold uniforms, they would have on the blue and white helmets, which didn't look right with it, but they couldn't have another helmet. So they were stuck. So you're allowed to have 2 helmets. We already have 2 helmets. Obviously, we've got the all burgundy helmets with the gold stripe, and then we have the black alt helmets. So we have 2 helmets, but we got 3 uniforms. We have space for 1 more, and he said that in the league you have to have your uniforms for at least 3 years. So I did not know that. That was news to me. So when you create a new uniform, you have to have that uniform for at least 3 years before you can replace it. So we've got these 3 uniforms that we have. The all burgundy, the all white, and the all black. And one of my questions was going to be, are we going to mix these unis up? All I've ever seen in these displays are all one color. Like, are we going to intermingle these things? And he answered that. He was like, look, he said, to me, the best colorway is white tops, burgundy bottoms. Like, when you see that, it's dope. He's like, I kind of hate that it's just standard, all white, all burgundy, all black. Because in my mind, I'm picturing, different combinations that I think will be really dope. But I got to be able to know, are we going to be able to do this before I allow my mind to wander? So he answered that question, but he said, the crazy part is when it came to uniforms, and he's like, I didn't know this when we were, coming up with the concepts. In order for you to have an alt uniform be a specific color, it has to be in your away or your home jersey color. So it made sense, though, because I sat there and I thought to myself, why do they have this one random black stripe on the white uniforms, right? And then, they have the outline and the numbers in black as well. And I'm like, when we first saw the uniforms like that, the black on the white uniform is kind of random. But he said, in order to have a black alt uni, you have to have black in your home or your away jersey. And it can't just be like a little stripe. He said they tried to really minimize the size of that black stripe on the sleeve. They tried to make it really small, and the NFL was like, nah, get out of here with that. We're going to need to see more black if you want a black alternate uniform. So that was interesting to me, that in order to have an alt uniform be a specific color, it has to be represented in either your home or your away or both jerseys in order to have an alternate uniform of that color. So that's interesting. So that's why you see the splash of black in the white uniforms. So it would allow them to have the all black Commander uniforms. He talked about the meanings behind the uniforms and the colors. So the black is supposed to represent, obviously we knew that already, the military. It's got a military theme. We knew that already. The burgundy is supposed to represent the past, and it's supposed to be a link, almost like a passing of a torch to the white uniforms that are supposed to represent the future. And they do look somewhat futuristic, and they look different. And so that was interesting to hear, the rationale behind the uniforms and what they were supposed to mean. He even went into specific detail talking about the stars on the white uniform and what it represented. And so I thought that was all cool as well, getting a little bit deeper meaning into the uniforms. And you'll probably see that they said they're working on a video that will really detail the uniforms and how they came to be, and sort of like the making the brand video. It might be a series on the uniforms. So that's something to look out for in the future. But something else Jason Wright made mention of that I thought was interesting as well. And I just lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me because it was important. But, the uniforms are something that is intriguing to me. I think a lot of people are fascinated by the uniforms. And so that'll be a big thing this year. The uniforms will be a big deal this year. He didn't speak about the stadium, because this conversation literally was about the brand and rebranding and getting to where we are today with the brand and how it all came to be. He talked about how he, trying to keep it a secret, which it wasn't, how, daunting of a task it ultimately became. And he said the drone was the ice, it was the straw that broke the camel's back. The drone that overlooked the building and that showed the commander's sign in the window. He's like, that was it for me. But I really wanted to ask him, bro, well, what happened with Channel 4? Y'all dropped the ball there, but again, it wasn't a Q&A session. That was the part that really frustrated me, that I was disappointed about, because I thought it was going to be, and I talked to a lot of fans that were there, and they felt like it was going to be a Q&A session at the end. Like they were going to say what they had to say, and then we were going to be allowed to react to some of that. Maybe 30 minutes, have people in the stands raise their hand, you call on them, they ask a question, you answer it, that kind of deal. But that wasn't the case. They said what they had to say, and then they were ready to get the hell out of there. But Jason stuck around, chopped it up with a lot of us fans for well after it was over, probably for a good 45 minutes or so. The guy that was the host was trying to rush Jason along, which pissed me off because I was trying to wait till the end, let all the crowd clear out, and then kind of get him one-on-one so I could kind of grill him a little bit and chop it up with him. And, by the time I got up there, the dude was kind of pulling him yo, we got to go. We already was supposed to leave 15 minutes ago. And Jason's like, yo, I still got people waiting on me. Let me talk to these people. Let me take pictures with them. They waited this long. I got this, so, his time wasn't the time that I got to spend with him, wasn't the kind of time that I was looking for. I wanted some quality time. I was looking for some QT. And I kind of got the little, hey, hurry up, man. I got to go. And it wasn't from him. That energy didn't come from him. It came from the guy that was trying to pull him along. But all in all, it was a really good event. I learned a few things, not a lot, but it was my, introductory into, these events. And, I'll be able to pick and choose which ones I want to attend, because as I mentioned, not all of them are going to be for me. But I thought he did drop a few gems on my melon. I think the last thing I wanted to talk about was the it was the mascot. So I think I said that the jersey thing might have been the most interesting nugget. I lied. This was the most interesting thing that he said. He said that I talked about the jerseys and which ones represented what they meant, what they stood for. Burgundy being a tie to the past, the black being a ode to the military, and then the whites being into the future. They were supposed to be what was this organization, where it was going. And he talked about the mascot. And one of the things I would have asked him is there any, and he wouldn't have confirmed this for me, but I would have wanted to see his body language. I told you I'm a psychology major. I'm a psych major. So, excuse me, I look at everything in the way, you respond to a question that's being asked, how your body language matches. Does your body language match the words that come out of your mouth? How do you react when you first hear the question? Things of that nature, comments, things of that nature. You can tell how a person's really, truly feeling by just looking at their body language, So I would have loved to have asked them, hey, is there any validity to this? There's this, kind of feeling out there that the reason you're honoring the Hogs on the same day that you're releasing the, mascot is because there's a tie there. But he actually said that the mascot, he's like, the one thing that we went through this process doing, he said, when we first started it out, we wanted to really pay homage to the past, but as we got further into the process, he realized that it was important for them to also move forward. And he said that the mascot is an opportunity to move forward. If your mascot is the Hogs, you're not moving forward. That's paying homage to the past. So much, and also the brand manager content guy that was there. So remember how I made a big deal out of 2222? Like, oh my God, there's synchronicity here. There's a reason that they made it 2222, because it's on Groundhog's Day. It's gonna be the Hogs. Now, I was again, a lot of times with this organization, when you overthink some shit, you're really overthinking it. When you try to give them credit for being smart, you're really overthinking it. You're giving them way too much credit. They're not thinking as deeply about this shit as we are, okay? Which is what we're trained to do. As internet detectives and sleuths, we like to take little clues and turn them into massive ones. Even if it doesn't exist, even that if that's not what's being presented to us, we draw inferences that may not necessarily lead us to the ultimate truth, but we think we are on the right path. I thought I was on the right path with the 2222 thing, and he's like, nah, I just like the way that it rolled off the tongue and how it just looked from an aesthetics, standpoint. The 2222, I just thought it was just dope. And I was like, really? That's why you did that shit? Of all the days you could have picked, you just, because it was all twos. It did look good, and it was cool, but I was thinking so much deeper. And the whole hogs and being honored, and then the mascot, there I go again, trying to be really literal here and thinking outside the box, like, oh, this is what it means. And he did no. We're honoring the hogs because they need to be honored, but we're moving forward with this mascot. So I don't think it's going to be hogs. I don't think it's going to be hogs, because if you're telling me, and again, one thing I can say about Jason Wright, even when I haven't agreed with him, he has not lied to me. He has not sugarcoated me one step throughout this process. I may not have agreed with everything that has been done since he's gotten here, but he hasn't lied to me. Even when he's made a mistake or there's been a misstep, he's come out and said, hey, my fault. Like with the Sean Taylor situation. Remember, he had a president's brief after that. Like, he briefed us on, hey, we dropped the ball. We did not realize how much this was going to mean to y'all. And in his defense, he ain't been here. Somebody should have told him, hey, bro, you might not want to do that, okay? We ain't had a lot to cheer about here in Washington for the last 15 years. He was one of the few guys that brought joy to a lot of these fans' lives. You might not want to do this in a rush type of situation. You might want to give them a big heads up, sort of like what they've done this year. Like, how they rolled out the schedule and they got, and see, this was the problem with honoring Sean Taylor last year, when you had so much shit going on with the rebrand and trying to figure out how you were going to organize everything with that. It didn't allow you the time to plan for things that were important, like Sean Taylor's memorial and him being honored by the organization. You see how they rolled out how every week is going to have a theme that's a home game this year? They could have had a Sean Taylor, themed week and tribute game. And that could have been on the schedule. We would have known about it in June like we do now. And we could have planned for it, to be in attendance at halftime, to show his family some love, to really take in the athlete, the player, the man that Sean Taylor was. And instead, we got 3 days in advance notice, and we're like, hey, deal with it. But he came out and he stood in front of that and said, hey, we dropped the ball. Okay, I didn't agree with it, but he was a man about it. So when he tells me, hey, this new logo, this new mascot is us moving forward into the future, it ain't hogs. Because that's the hogs is the epitome of the past. It's the epitome of trying to continue to drag that along. And I think they're at the point now where they want to make sure that those guys feel welcome. Even though the logo and the name that they played under is no longer here, you're still a part of this family. And they're going to make sure, and he made sure he talked about that, like making sure those guys feel welcome. But at the same time, we also need to move this thing into the future. So I don't think the name is going to, the mascot is going to be the Hogs. But we'll see. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I am. So not after listening to him talk. So anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section, see what you guys have to say, and then we'll get out of here. I know it's late, so I know a lot of y'all probably have work tomorrow, so I'm not going to keep you here all that late tonight. HTTR for life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, what up, Lou? Been a while since I caught a live. It has been, because I haven't chopped it up with you in quite some time. So it's great to be able to chop it up with you. Really appreciate you being back in the fold, man. Let's see. Luck. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, hold the F up. It's season ticket holder events. Yeah, so I don't know how all of this works. So you don't want to I'm not the guy to ask. I know that there are certain ones, like if you're signed up for certain events, then you're going to be exposed to those. If you're not a part of that particular group, then maybe you're not privy to some of these events. That's how it was explained to me. But again, some of these events are for the masses. Some of them are not. I don't think you would have gained a lot from this, to be honest with you. If you've been a season ticket holder, you've been to some of these events, this wouldn't have moved you. The only reason I enjoyed this was because it was my first one. I talked to somebody that recognized me, came up, took a picture with me. He was a cool ass dude. It was funny. Quick story. He was like, yo, I met his wife. His daughter was there. She was like, oh, so you the one that been taking up all my husband's time. I'm like, well, damn. So I told y'all, some of y'all wives watch the show with y'all and y'all like, yo, my wife says hi. Can you give my wife a shout out? And I'm taken back by that, because for most of the wives that I meet, they're like, oh, so you the asshole that be taking up all my goddamn quality time. You the guy he be watching 2, 3 in the morning when he's supposed to be in bed. Yeah, I'm guilty as charged. You know what I'm saying? So she was like, oh, so it's you that dude. So he was telling me that he's like, yo, bro, even my mom know who you are. And I'm like, yo, that's crazy, man. Get out of here. He's like, I'm not playing. So his wife took a picture of us. He sent the picture to his mom, and she was like, oh, snap. Pretty much like, oh, it is him. I'm like, that's crazy, man. But I was talking to him, and we were waiting to talk to Jason. And he was like, man, this was some bullshit. I could have stayed home for this. So he had been to these events. He's been a season ticket holder. That didn't move him at all. And I was like, well, I thought it was going to be a Q&A. And he's like, we all did. That's the only reason I stuck around. If I would have known this wasn't a Q&A, I'd have left 5 minutes into this thing. I had no business being here. So this didn't resonate for everyone. This didn't move the needle for everybody. The only reason I was engaged was because it was my first one. I will become quickly jaded if these are how these events are going to go, where you're just going to have a couple of guys come up, talk to us for an hour, and then that's it. We don't get to have any feedback, or there isn't any back and forth dialogue. It's just them talking. I'm good. I don't really need to drive an hour and a half from my house for that. You know what I'm saying? So I assume some of these will be events will be better than others, but you didn't miss anything, love. Trust me. You didn't miss a single thing. But what I will tell you to do is call your rep and ask them about, these different, sectors of season ticket holders that they have. Maybe you're in a certain sector, which is why you didn't know about this. And, maybe she can, or he can, get you into all of these different events. But I would just tell you, call your rep. DMV Sports Zone. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, DMV Sports Zone, writes, met my Chicago brethren, Jason Dub. Yeah, I did. I took a picture with him and everything. Real cool dude, man. Really cool guy. And like I said, I look forward to chopping it up with him. This is not the last time we're going to cross paths. I can assure you of that. We were even talking non-football related stuff because he's a businessman, and I'm fascinated by excellence, especially when you put black in front of it. And Jason Wright is black excellence. Melody Hobson is black excellence. And I don't know if you guys know who that is, but she's going to be, if everything goes well and goes through with the sale of the Denver Broncos and the purchase of the Denver Broncos for $4.5 billion, she's going to be a part of the group that's buying the Broncos. So in effect, she will be the first black, or African American. You call them. It's black for me. You see me, I'm a black guy. You don't have to call me African American. You call me whatever you want, but I shouldn't say that. You can call me African American, or you can call me black. I prefer black. That's just me. But she'll be the first African American woman to be a owner of an NFL team. She'll be more likely than not a minority owner, but that doesn't matter. She's when you hear Melanie Hobson's name, it's a lot of firsts associated with her. She's brilliant. So they both were in that Chicago scene in terms of business. So I asked him about that, but he's never met her. But he said he's really been mentored by one of her handlers, someone that's really close to her. So he's looking forward to meeting her, though. I think that would be a great meeting because they're both brilliant. So, and I told him that. So I look forward to meeting Jason Wright many more times. And congratulations, man. I saw your graduation picture, man. It's always a blessing when you finally get to the finish line. You know, you start out here, and when you first start out, you can't see the finish line. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of studying, you know, but it's all worth it when you get to the end. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, don't be like me. And I always tell the young youth of America, and you're part of the youth of America, don't be like me, be better than me. I got a whole entire degree that I haven't used not a single time. I think you're going to use your degree because you're a smart young man. Don't waste $50,000, $60,000 and then don't use the degree, right? So I always tell people, if you're going to college, don't go to college looking to figure out what's next while you're buying time, taking all of those, you know, entry-level classes that you have to take. And you're trying to figure out what you want your major to be. Like, don't waste money. Either you know what you want to be and you're going to school specifically to help you get closer to that goal, or don't go at all. Because ultimately, and you may ultimately find your calling while you're in college and you turn out to get a degree in that field and it ultimately works out for you. But a lot of times, often it's not that way. You go there and you don't know what you want to do. You end up getting some degree in a field that ultimately you may work a couple of jobs in and then decide to do something else and you pivot. I literally went to college because that was what was supposed to be next. I really went to college to play sports. That kind of fell through. And then I ultimately was like, well, the next step of my life is go to college. That's what everybody does, right? You just go to college after you get out of high school. So I went to college. I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. At first, I wanted to do this. Then I wanted to do that. And ultimately, I got my degree and I never used it. I never used it. So you're a smart enough dude, though. You probably majored in communications or journalism or something like that. And you have every intentions of putting your degree to use. But I said all of that to say this. Congratulations, man. Congratulations on all that hard work culminating and you walking across that stage and getting your degree. So, Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Metaphor, writes, it's only OTAs, trying to chill, but Jahan, ooh-wee! He's looked great, but this is what I expect. It is OTA, so I'm not going to get super excited, but I know what this guy's about, which is why I try to tell you guys when we drafted him, this guy's legit, and he's exactly what we needed opposite of Terry. So you'll get no complaints out of me. I'm excited about Jahan, but I just want to wait until, the season starts. Preseason, we might get a little sneak peek at him. Training camp, we'll hear that, this buzz that he's generated during OTAs will continue because he's going to fillet a lot of these dudes that's out there at practice. I want to see him do it in the games, and then I want to see the impact that he is able to have on Terry because he's going to have to do it first. They're not going to stop double teaming Terry until Jahan goes out and blesses a team for 7 catches, 142 yards, and a couple of tubs. That's when they're going to say, all right, okay, this young fella's legit, and we got to start paying attention to him. And that's when Terry's going to have some of the burden taken off of his shoulders. And then maybe Curtis Samuel starts to take some of the load off of both of their shoulders. And now all of a sudden you got this balanced attack offensively where 4 or 5 dudes could hurt you at the receiver position. The running backs are nasty. The tight ends are sprinkling in their production. And all of a sudden this offense is humming. That's what we hope. But we're a long ways away from that. So we'll see what happens. Donald Gray, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Donald Gray writes, Late Night Louie, you know what it is. Says, do you see any surprise cuts? Not to this point right now, no. It's too early for me to talk about cuts. You start to really get a sense of who could be really on the bubble, who could really be on that chopping block as we get into camp. And I told you my biggest thing is always the rotation in these preseason games, or at least it used to be. Now that teams are treating the preseason like OTAs, I don't think this group is going to do that. I think they're old school. You're going to still see the starters get out there, get a few reps in the first game, maybe play half of that second game like they did against Cincinnati last year, and then not play in the Ravens game, that third final preseason game at all. I think that's going to continue to be the move here in Washington. But you can always tell where a guy stands by where they are in that rotation and how much they're playing. I remember last year, I told you guys, hey, Jimmy Moreland's getting cut. And a lot of y'all was like, nah, the people's champ ain't getting cut. Jimmy Moreland's better than XYZ of these corners out here, man. I said Jimmy was running with the fourth string. All right, in the final preseason game when nobody else was playing, Jimmy was out there playing ball for like 3/4 of that game. That man is getting cut, okay? Like, that's when you start to really get a sense for, this dude's in trouble. So it's impossible to know, because who could have assumed that the corner that tore his ACL against the Atlanta Falcons last year on the Hail Mary, that played well in the preseason, that ended up making the team, who could have assumed that he was going to do what he did throughout training camp and end up earning himself a roster spot? We didn't see that coming. It's impossible to know what's going to happen right now. You get to training camp, you hear about standouts, you see the play on the field in the preseason, and then you can start to put some of the pieces of the puzzle together. So we don't have anything right now that we can really chew on. That won't come until probably at the earliest, early August is when we can start having those discussions about dudes that might potentially be on the chopping block. CJ Shoots Photo. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, perfect take on Jack, by the way. Yesterday's nugget of my melon. He says, please don't talk to Jason about Jason can't do anything right. Not a fan. Peace, Lou. I like Jason, and I know he hasn't, come off as a guy that appeases the entire fan base. So clearly you're one of the people that aren't a big fan of his, and that's fine. Everyone's got different tastes. Everyone's got, a different view of what they feel like the team president should be. Jason Wright made it abundantly clear when he first got here, I have nothing to do with the product on the field. That is not my job. Remember, Bruce Allen was our team president, but he was also our de facto general manager. That is not the case for Jason Wright. Jason Wright is like, I got nothing to do with the football side of things. All right. Everything that I'm here to do is surrounding and revolving around the business side and aspect of this organization. And I thought his most powerful quote to date, for me at least, was, how can I make this a lose-proof product? Meaning, hey, we ain't got to win shit for us to still generate revenue. It's tough because he knows it. He acknowledged that, look, my job is significantly easier if we win football games. I don't have to do as much. You win and everything takes care of itself. But my job is to come in here, and no matter what happens on the football side, we still got to be over here generating revenue on the business side. So some of the things that have been done, not all of it is his fault. Some of it is, and he's taking blame for a lot of that stuff. At the end of the day, he hasn't been here the entire time. There was a lot and he acknowledged that tonight. He said, look, there are a lot of things that we had to clean up when we got here. It was a mess, okay? It was an absolute mess. And we literally had to clean house. And he said we couldn't do it fast enough. So when you hear that, you know that his job was really complex. And it's still complex to this day. But I think with the hand that he was dealt, I think he's doing a pretty solid job. So anyway, thank you for the super chat, CJ Shoots Photo. Let's see. CJ Shoots Photo. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. CJ Shoots Photo writes, heard some Anthony Barr rumors brewing. I have not. Anthony Barr doesn't move the needle for me. And he wouldn't make sense in the timeline for us. Let's take a look at how old he is. I'm going to guess that Anthony Barr is 29, pushing 30. Okay. So let's check and see how old Anthony Barr is, because I've told you guys what we've done so far since Ron has gotten here. Anthony Barr is 30 years old. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. That doesn't, to me, really fit with what we're doing right now. All the guys that we're acquiring are 24, 25, 26, like 27 years old. I can't see us doing anything like trading for Anthony Barr. I wouldn't even know how he would fit in our defense, because I remember when he came out of college, I thought he had a chance to be like a Michael Parsons type player, move him around, rush him after the quarterback, that kind of thing. And in Minnesota, he's really been a drop linebacker in coverage a ton. So I wouldn't even know what they would have a vision for him if they were to acquire him. I just don't see them doing that. I really don't see them giving up any draft capital. I don't see them doing anything rash. We'll see what happens with Anthony Barr, if in fact, because you remember, it's a brand new regime in Minnesota. So it could be out with the old, in with the new. They've got a lot of older players that are aging on that football team, from Anthony Barr to Michael Kendricks, or not Michael Kendricks, to what is his name? Kendricks. I always want to call him Eddie. His name is not Eddie Kendricks. But you got from Kendricks to Barr to Harrison Smith to Patrick Peterson. It's an old defense. So maybe they want to get a little bit younger and have an infusion of youth. And so moving a guy like Anthony Barr maybe makes a ton of sense for them. I just don't think he'll be moved here. So anyway, we will see. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy Metaphor writes, Commander's about to have a dust up in the link week 10. You know what it is. I'm looking forward to the dust up in week 3 first. I ain't skipping to 10. We need to get the dub at the crib first, and then set the stage for the season sweep in week 10 at the link. But we got to get there first. Got to take care of business leading up to week 10, because if you get to that game and you're already 2-7 on the season, then guess what? That week 10 matchup ain't going to be worth a damn. And we're probably going to go in there and get our faces smashed in. So we need to take care of business heading into that game, so that that game has real meaning and huge implications, in terms of its magnitude on the schedule. So, yeah, for me, got to take care of week 3 first against those same Philadelphia Eagles. Rob Yu, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Rob Yu writes, Lou, great content as always, champ. Salute. Appreciate you, Rob Yu. Thank you for the support as always. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat once again. My guy Metaphor, greatly appreciate you. Writes, Lou, get blackout logos. Hope I used the right one. You did. You knew which one looked the best, man. And I felt bad because I definitely forgot to tell you which one, but you knew which one. I didn't have to tell you, because great minds think alike, and you could look at it and say, okay, this is the best looking one. So you sent me the right ones. I appreciate that. And I'm going to go ahead and get busy on that. I've been like, my head's been spinning. I've had so many things going on this week from a family perspective that I haven't really gotten a lot of business done this week. So I will take this weekend and take the opportunity to somewhat decompress, but also get that done, because I'm looking forward to launching the blackout line probably early July. End of June, early July. I think I want to have it launch at the beginning of July. So I'm going to work on all of that stuff. And you're going to be a huge part of that, man. I really do truly appreciate you. Really sped up the process with your contribution. So thank you so much, Metaphor. Greatly appreciate you. John Livingston, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JL Smooth. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, my guy, Lou. What up, JL Smooth? Says, hope life is blessed. Indeed it is. Likewise for you and yours. He says, now, I know you don't care about the talking heads on ESPN and whatnot, but they picked the Commanders to go 3-14. Man, I was pissed off for you. Eagles at 12-5, by the way. That's fine. You know what the talking heads at ESPN predicted us to do last year? Go to the NFC Championship game. So I don't give a shit what they're talking about. Okay. That's good that they're picking us to go 3-14. That means we're going to go 11-6 more likely than not, because they have no clue what they're talking about. So I appreciate them having us be one of the worst teams in football. Great. And as a lot of fans like to say, we do our best work when we're under the radar and no one's paying any attention to us. At some point, that has to change. I'm adamant that that's cool. And I think this is going to be one of those years where we're going to sneak up on some teams because everyone's kind of, oh, they got Carson Wentz, they're dismissing us. Oh, you know, all they got is Terry McLaurin at receiver, they're dismissing us because they have no clue what we're over here doing. They don't know what we over here brewing, you know, and that's fine. Eventually, you're not going to sneak up on teams. They're actually going to know you're good. They're going to be prepared for you. What are you going to do then? That's always been the problem in Washington, is when no one's looking for us, they're not checking for us. All right. And they expect us to lay down and give them a dub. And we show up and we show out, like Tampa Bay, for instance. They showed up to FedEx last year after our bye week. We were a lame duck team. We looked like we were dead in the water. We had a bunch of injuries. We lost to Denver in Denver. We only scored 10 points in that game before the bye. We were a joke. So they showed up to FedEx. Tom Brady and company didn't take us seriously at all. They thought they were going to march in there, score 37 points, blow us out of the water, and leave FedEx with a comfortable dub. And what they got was a rude awakening, because we picked Tom Brady off twice in the first quarter. We got after his ass. We made him uncomfortable, and we ended up winning that football game. And it was because they didn't respect us. They slept on us. And eventually, teams aren't going to do that. You make a name for yourself. You win enough games, and teams are going to see you coming a mile away, and they're going to be prepared. And how we deal with that is going to be, to me, the testament of and the true test of where this organization is going, because we don't handle success well. We haven't, which is why Ron Rivera said last year that we were immature. He could smell a 7-win season coming. You know why? Because he could see some of what happened the year previous with us winning the division at 7-9, which was a joke. He could see that it went straight to some of those guys' heads on this football team. You had Chase Young and Montez Sweat talking about breaking an all-time sack record for most sacks by a couple of teammates in NFL history. And I'm like, it sounded good. And after Chase Young sacked Cam Newton, I was convinced, oh shit, here we go. Birdman hand rub. But we saw what followed after that. So, yeah, there needs to be some kind of accountability for having success and staying the course. You know, being just as focused as you were when you were hungry and you were a predator as when you are a prey and you're the hunted, no longer the hunter. So, I want to see what happens. But right now, we're going to be the hunter. We're going to be the predator, because no one's giving us a shot. Everyone thinks we're prey. So now we get to be on the prowl. We get to, flip the script, or as I like to say, change the narrative. We're going to be 3-14? Okay. I'll show you better than I can tell you. We're going to change the narrative. Thank you for the super chat, John Livingston. Let's see. DC Dude, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. DC Dude writes, if Snyder was ousted, DC, Maryland, and VA would open their arms to a new stadium. Their current position is in protest to the owner. Thoughts? I don't think DC wants the stadium in DC. And I think it has nothing to do with the owner. I think the other two locales in Maryland and VA both have opposition to the owner and how he's done business to this point. And I do think they're making it a point of emphasis to not do business, not get in bed with him. But DC, the constituents in that area, because everyone wants the stadium in downtown DC where the RFK side is, and really the constituents in that area are like, no, we don't want a football stadium here. It would not help this area. It would bring a lot of traffic. You can only use it, it's only 8 games a season, and it's going to be hard to use it for anything else other than football games. There's a lot of excuses. There's a lot of reasons why those people feel like it wouldn't be a drain on the taxpayers' money, this, that, and the third. There are a lot of reasons why these people that call DC home don't want anything to do with the stadium being there. And I don't live there, so I can't tell them that they're wrong. I just don't think that Daniel Snyder is the chief reason why DC isn't in play. I think now when it comes to VA and Maryland, I do think Daniel Snyder is the reason that those locales are really not in play. And ultimately, it's going to be in Maryland again. I've said this already, and I'm going to say it again. They're going to end up building that bad boy right in the parking lot next to FedEx Field, right where it is. We're going to continue to play in that stadium, and they're going to end up building it right next door in the parking lot, and they're going to tear that other stadium down when they're done with the new one, and that's going to be our new stadium. I don't think he's going to get any land from anyone. He already owns the land where FedEx Field is. I can't see him procuring any other land. He's already bought and marked other places where he wants to build, but he's not going to get the license to do what he wants to do. I think he ultimately is going to end up building it right where it is at FedEx Field. So we'll see what happens. But I don't think DC is in that discussion in terms of places that are out because of Snyder. I think they don't want a stadium there. They don't see it being beneficial to the area. Let's see if we have any more super chats. If not, we'll get out of here. Oops. Let's see. I'll make sure I didn't skip over anything. Yes, we do have more super chats. And I don't think we missed anything. Nope. All right. So the next super chat is from Dejan Bell. Thank you for the super chat, Dejan Bell. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Dejan writes, Lou, can you notify me when the dates for training camp start? I'm in Wisconsin. I'm trying to plan accordingly. So I don't actually know that myself, but I'm more than happy to try to find out when they start. I'm pretty sure they've already posted training camp dates, but I could be wrong. They might not have posted them yet. So let's see. Training camp dates for Washington Commanders. Yeah. So they don't have anything listed for that right now. But as you mentioned, and I think you already knew that, which is why you said, can I notify you? They will probably release that after these mandatory minis take place. Those mandatory minis are going to be from June 14th to the 16th. And then after that, I think that's the last time they meet until training camp. So I think after those last 3 days of mandatory minis take place, that's when they'll start turning their attention to training camp, and they'll release the dates for training camp. They've always got Fan Appreciation Day and all of that stuff. Last year they had the practice under the lights at FedEx Field. So I assume they'll be doing all of those things again, and I'll let you know when all of that stuff starts to be disclosed to us as fans. Dejan Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Dejan Bell, who writes, is it first come, first serve, or do I buy tickets? Are you referring to training camp? If you're referring to training camp, it's really just first come, first serve. Like, there's not a cap on how many people can attend training camp practices, especially if they're in Richmond. I don't know if they're going back to Richmond or not. But when they were in Richmond, there was no cap on how many people could attend practice. It just, you want to get there early because it's a lot of people that would come. When it comes to the practice that they had Under the Lights at FedEx Field. That one was restricted to like 20,000 fans, I think, and you had to reserve, almost like, you know, a free ticket, but you had to reserve the free ticket. I don't know what they're going to do this year. Fan appreciation was always free, and at one point there was really no cap on how many people could come to fan appreciation. I'd been to one of those before. You know, I'd been to Richmond. I always do everything at least once, so I can say I did it, and so I can rationalize not going back. It's hard to say you're not going to do something and you've never tried it before. So I've done the fan appreciation day thing. I've done the, you know, Richmond training camp thing, and there's no reason for me to do it again, other than wanting to meet, you know, a lot of you guys out there. Other than that, I have no interest in any of that stuff. So, you know, practice is interesting. I'd like to be in attendance at practice and see what's going on and be able to report that back to you guys. And I'm going to work on, you know, maybe I told you the next step for me is getting out of the house. You know, it's easy to be lazy, to stay in your house, rely on these beat reporters to give you all of your information and then relay that information to you. But it's another thing to actually get out of the house, you know, and actually get on the beat like some of these reporters do. I'm not going to be as prolific as a lot of these, because that's their job. Their job is literally to follow the team around, get as much information for their respective entities that they're reporting for, and, you know, put out stories and things and content and things of that nature. I'm just interested in some of these practices, see how things are going, you know, whatever is disclosed to the media, because not everything, you know, the media is allowed to see. But to answer your question, and I think, you know, I go on for tangents. To answer your question, no, there is no cap on tickets. You don't have to pay for anything a lot of times with these training camp practices. Usually they're free, first come, first serve, in terms of, you know, getting some good real estate in terms of seeing practice. The later you come, the more people that are there, the harder it is for you to get a spot where you can see anything. But Fan Appreciation Day did have a cap on it last year, but that was with COVID and everything going on. I think they might be a little bit more lax this year, and it might go back to the way it was before, where it's Fan Appreciation Day, just show up, you know. So we'll see. John Livingston, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. JL Smooth, who writes, Lou, how would you feel about the richer owners having the cash on hand to put into an escrow and basically cheat the salary cap on contracts? Think the NFL will regulate it? No, because it would create an unfair advantage. One thing the NFL has always tried to do was keep the playing field level. So what you see in other sports is an unbalanced playing field, essentially. If you've got the money, if you can withstand, like in the NBA, there's a hard cap, but it's really a soft cap because you can exceed it. You'll have to pay a luxury tax. But if you got money, if you're not strapped for cash, if you rolling in the dough, you can exceed that. Like the Golden State Warriors, they exceed the salary cap every year and pay the taxes because they want to win a championship. So they're willing to go above and beyond, pay that luxury tax in the pursuit of a Larry O'Brien trophy. Whereas the small media market teams, they're not willing to do that because they're not making the kind of money that suggests that it's okay for them to go over that threshold and pay that luxury tax. So they're going to have to find a way to do it without going over that luxury tax. But you can, if you have the money and the means to be able to do so. If you've got the resources, you can put yourself in a position to, you know, have a better team than some of the others around the league who may not have as many resources afforded to them. Same thing in Major League Baseball. We know how it goes in Major League Baseball. The rich get richer, the poor stay poor. And you got to hope that you got a great farm system because you're not outbidding the Yankees. You're not outbidding the Red Sox. You're not outbidding some of these teams with deep pockets that spare no expense to get the players that they want. And when, you know, the Dodgers are among that group as well, to me, those are the three teams that just hoard all of the talent when it becomes available. Those are usually the most logical destinations for these players. They have an advantage. It doesn't always work out. Just because you have the best players doesn't always mean you win in these sports. However, it does give you an advantage. If those guys play to the level that they are capable of playing, which is why the Dodgers in the NL always in the NLCS every single year. They may not make it to the World Series every year, but they're always contending for a World Series. They're always up around 100 wins every year. Why? Because they can buy the best players and field one of the best teams in the National League. I don't think they will ever allow the NFL to get to that point. I think they love the parity that exists. Like the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals made it all the way to the Super Bowl last year after being the worst team in the league the 2 years ago when they got Joe Burrow, and being one of the worst teams in the league the year before when Burrow got injured, speaks volumes as to the parity that exists in the NFL, and they like to keep it that way. Where a team that was one of the worst in football the year prior is all of a sudden playing for a Super Bowl. Now, again, I've already stressed this numerous times. You need a Joe Burrow in order to make that kind of a transformational leap, okay? You need to have a Jamar Chase and a T. Higgins and Joe Mixon and the defensive improvements that they made to their roster, like a Trey Hendrickson that came in and had 15 sacks in his first year in Cincinnati, and Chidobe Awuzie playing outstanding cornerback on the outside, and Mike Hilton, a guy that I wanted us to sign in free agency, playing some outstanding nickel corner for them. You need those kinds of moves. Larry Ogunjobi having 7 sacks at the defensive tackle position as a free agent that they got from the Browns. You need guys to step up that you sign in free agency and not flop like the ones that we've signed here in recent years. You need guys to come in and do all those things. You need all the stars to align, but it also helps when you have a transcendent quarterback playing for you, which the Bengals do. But still, that's why we love the NFL. The Arizona Cardinals can be garbage one year, get Kurt Warner, and be in the Super Bowl the next. That's why we love the NFL. The Jacksonville Jaguars could be picking top 5 for 5 years in a row and then hit lightning in a bottle in 2017 and make it all the way to the AFC Championship game and be within 10 minutes of playing in the Super Bowl. That's why we love the NFL, because anything can happen. Unlike basketball, where you know the best teams are going to win because it's a series, right? In baseball, you can get a hot team with a couple of hot pitchers, and they can mow their way through the Major League Baseball playoffs and end up winning a World Series when nobody saw that coming. But if you've got pitchers, you can do that. In football, you don't have to be the best team. You just have to be the best team that day. The best team wins always in a series. You're not going to beat a team that's better than you 4 times out of 7, okay? But you can beat that team 1 time out of 1, and that's what makes the NFL such a great game. And I don't think they're going to tamper with that. You start giving owners who have deeper pockets, like you start giving them autonomy to go out and do whatever they want to do, and it's really going to, I think, hurt the league. It's going to create an unfair advantage, because we've seen that in this league in particular, continuity and playing with guys for a number of years, that matters. You know, the Rams didn't just win a Super Bowl because they got Matthew Stafford. That's the same crew that had been getting to the playoffs every single year and finding ways to lose for the last 4 years. This is a battle-tested group. They've been playing together for a while, and they just inserted the quarterback and he put them over the top. But they had built that continuity. They had that working relationship with one another. So we've seen that, like the Eagles' dream team, the Washington, the 2000 Skins, you can't buy a Super Bowl. It's hard. The Rams, they came pretty damn close, though. They've done everything they could to pretty much buy a Super Bowl, but they've had enough parts there that, you know, were consistent, that had been there to help them get over the top. But make no mistake about it, they had hired guns, you know. Odell Beckham Jr. and Von Miller, you know, those guys were hired guns. Don't fool yourself. But it's hard to do that. It's hard to put together a collection of talent and win a Super Bowl in 1 year. But if you gave owners with deep pockets an opportunity to do that, they would do that. So I don't see the NFL allowing that to happen. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Metaphor writes, Lou, remember Jay Wright, trust and honesty too must be the golden rule. You'll feel the strength of passion in the team. Look, you already know what it is. All right. More R&B gems for your melon out here from my guy Metaphor. I'm going to tell you like this. Jason Wright is he's the right man, similar to the way I feel about Ron Rivera. He's the right man for the job. He understands what this organization needs from the business side of things. And he's been all inclusive. He's done a great job in creating diversity within the organization and some of the hires that have been made. I think he gets it, which is why he was hired in the first place. He told us tonight, I didn't know this before tonight, but he said he ran into Daniel Snyder and Daniel and Tanya Snyder at an event that he met like through a mutual friend. And 3 weeks later, he was hired as the team president. So that's the kind of impact and impression that he left on the Snyders, to where they felt like, hey, this is the right man for the job. You know, he checks off a lot of boxes. Not only is he smart and brilliant, which is the first thing you should lead with, but extra incentive. He's black. So, you know, we're checking off a lot of boxes here. And Jason Wright's awesome. All right, he gets it, man. So I'm excited about the direction of the business side. But, you know, I'll tell you this quick, fast, and I'll tell Jason Wright this to his face. I don't give a shit about the business side. I want to win, you know. But he made sure that we knew that in order for the business side to impact the on-the-field production, we gotta do our part as fans. The money that we help the organization generate goes back into the organization on the other side of the operation, on the field product. He said the first thing that I realized when I got here, being an ex-player, is that our facilities, our field, all of that stuff wasn't up to par. So the first thing that I felt like we needed to take our money and our resources and reallocate them to was getting a new practice facility, which they did. Remember, we didn't have a bubble for a very long time. He said getting new, revamping the sod in the field at FedEx, and a new water drainage system, so we weren't playing essentially on a sponge and in a monsoon like we did against the 49ers a couple of years ago when the 49ers went to the Super Bowl in 2019 and beat us 6-0 and was sliding and slipping and sliding on the damn field, having a good old time when they shut us out. He's like, we can't play on fields like that. That's not conducive to winning football games, to getting the best out of these players. So in order to do things, to upgrade some of the things that we feel like we need to upgrade to compete with some of the other teams in the league, we need your support. I mean, I get it. You want our support, win football games. That's how I feel. And it's chicken or the egg. I get it. If you support, do we win? Or do you win first and then get the support? I get it. It's complex, but there's a lot to that whole discussion, So anyway, I digress. I think Jason Wright's the right man for the job. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP writes, Lou, I hate that the Dotson pick was crushed on draft night. Kid did nothing to piss off the fans. I thought it was a good pick because he's got talent. I mean, that's a part of the process. The pick was crushed, and I already explained this. I explained it on draft night. I explained it the night after the draft. I explained it the week after the draft. And, it is what it is. We're humans, And I'll link myself into that discussion because normally I separate myself. When y'all on some bullshit, I'd be like, y'all, not us. They didn't get us. I always like to joke. When that one person gets caught, y'all all go to the convenience store up the street, and y'all all planning to run a little game in there, run in there, steal a couple of items, and one of y'all gets caught, and the other two of y'all hiding somewhere, and the one that gets caught is like, hey, y'all can come out, man, they got us. No, they didn't get us. They got your ass. Usually I'm like, nah, they didn't get us. They got you. Nah, this was us. They got us. Because I didn't see it coming either. And I was surprised on draft night, but I wasn't outraged. That was the difference. Is I knew better. I'd done the work already. So I knew better. A lot of you hadn't done the work, so you didn't know better. When you know better, you do better, which is something that I live by. So I understand some of the gripes that people had on draft night, because they had no idea what Jahan Dotson was about. They just knew about Chris Olave. They knew about Garrett Wilson. They knew about Drake London. They knew about Jameson Williams, and that was the extent of the homework they had done, because they couldn't in their minds, they couldn't see past those 4 receivers being options at 11, and they didn't factor in Washington trading back and those guys being gone and them having to go a different route. That didn't enter their brain. We're at 11. One of these 3-4 receivers will be there. Nobody else matters. And I got into that mix too. The only thing that saved me was I'd already done the work. But I was in the mindset of Jahan Dotson's not even on the radar. He'll come later on in the first round, because I didn't expect Jameson Williams. And I told you this much. I didn't expect Jameson Williams to go as high as he did. Now, I told you if he's healthy, he's the first receiver off the board. He's the most talented receiver in this year's draft class that just passed. However, he wasn't healthy. So I didn't think a team would do what the Lions did, essentially trading all the way up from 30 or 31, wherever they were, to the number 12 pick in the draft to take him. And who could have foreseen, 4 receivers going in the span of 5 picks? You had Drake London going at 8. You had Garrett Wilson going at 10. Olave, after we traded with the Saints, going at 11. And then Jameson Williams going at 12. Bing, bang, boom. Just like that, 4 receivers gone. And now a guy that I had pegged as, a guy that would come off the board like in 22 to Green Bay, 25, somewhere in that neighborhood, he's now in play at 17. And we took him. So I got no problems with how that unfolded. And I don't have any problems with the fan base being upset, because a lot of them didn't know any better. That's what you do. The unknown is scary, which is why people like to stay in their comfort zones. Because when you don't know, you panic because you're not comfortable. And a lot of people didn't know about Jahan Dotson, so they thought, we traded back and we took this scrub, another Smurf. And I'm like, hey, relax. You know nothing about this dude. And I told you guys, I said, do me a favor. For those of you who are unaware, because I told you Jahan Dotson was my number 4 receiver in the draft. And I told you Drake London didn't belong being one of the first 4 receivers taken, So as far as I was concerned, we got the 4th best receiver at where the 4th best receiver should have come off the board at. And I was ecstatic. We got the 5th receiver taken in the draft, and he was my number 4. So I felt great about the pick. But I told you guys, do the homework first. If you come back to me, and this is always my thing, on any subject matter when it involves a player, do the homework. Or even when you're talking about film, oh, Scott Turner is trash, we need to get rid of him. Okay, go watch the film and then come talk to me. And if you feel the same way, we can have a discussion. My ears are open. I want to hear what you have to say and why you feel the way that you do. But if you haven't done the work, then there's nothing to talk about. You're just talking. And that's what a lot of fans were doing. When he was first selected, they hadn't done the work. They were upset because we didn't get what they perceived to be talent, Kyle Hamilton and Chris Olave and all the guys that were available that we passed up to take Jahan Dotson. They were disappointed until they realized, oh shit, he's actually really good. Which is what I was advocating all along. Just go watch. And if you feel the same way, touche. We can have a conversation. Anyway, I digress. Thank you for the super chat, JP. See if we got any more super chats. We might be done for the night. I see one there. See if I see any more. I think that might be the last one. So we'll take this last super chat from. We got 2 more super chats here. And then we'll get out of here. All right. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JP. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Right. Lou, I'm on the change the narrative train like you are. Beat teams we have no business beating and make a deep playoff run. Well, it starts with beating the teams that you're supposed to beat. Okay. You're skipping steps, JP. I'm on the change the narrative train, but in order to change the narrative, we got to beat the teams we're supposed to beat. And then you'll gain the confidence to beat the teams that maybe you aren't supposed to beat. Again, early in the season, we'll have some early season tests that we will either pass because we're playing confident football, or we'll fail because we didn't take care of business against teams that we ought to beat. Now, again, who am I to say that we ought to beat anybody? Okay, we did not make the playoffs last year. We won 7 games last year. Granted, Jacksonville had the number 1 pick and the Lions had the number 2 pick, but that was last year. We have no idea what those teams are going to be this year. But if we're going off of last year, okay, and you don't expect any monumental jumps from either one of those teams, then we should beat those 2 teams. And you should go into week 3's contest against Philadelphia 2-0, looking to make it 3-0. And then you should be going into Dallas, a place that we have not had a ton of success, looking to beat Dak Prescott for the first time as a member of the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas at 3-0. And using all of that momentum built, whether you're 4-0, 3-1 to start the season off, which you should be no worse than 3-1 coming out of that stretch of games. When you run into the Titans in week 5, either you're playing hot football and you're confident, having won 3 out of your first 4 or all 4 of your first games, or you're questioning yourself, you're doubting yourself, you're 2-2, you're 1-3, and you're struggling, and the Titans are going to come in and mollywop us. That's when the narrative changes. When you start taking care of business, because I talked about this before, confidence begets winning, winning begets confidence. It's a vicious, flavor, delicious cycle that repeats itself, and as it continues to grow and it continues to build, you become more and more dangerous as a football team. That's what happened with the 2015 Panthers. That's what happened with the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles. That's what happens when you win in this league. You build confidence, and all of a sudden, you feel like we can't be beat. I don't care who the opponent is. We're better than them. We got to win games, not just against the teams that we're not supposed to beat. We need to beat the teams that we are supposed to beat first. That will give you the confidence to then go and beat the teams that maybe you aren't supposed to beat. But I want to change the narrative. Like my guy, and again, I don't put too much stock into it, but like my guy, JL Smooth said, you know, people, they talking down on our name. They got us going 3-14, and they got us going 5-12, and all of this nonsense. Good. I love it. Let's change the narrative. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Let's see. Condo P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My girl, Condo P, writes, I'm encouraged by the reports on St. Juice so far. As am I. However, you know, I'm always playing devil's advocate, whether good or bad. With St. Juice, I'm not worried about his skills. I was last year. Remember, I wasn't a big Benjamin St. Juice fan. I wasn't a fan of the pick. And he quickly made me a believer. And I told you he was feisty underneath, very handsy, grabby. I didn't think his brand of football would work in the NFL. But quickly, he won me over, made me a believer. And I said, hey, this kid can play ball. He's locking dudes up on the outside. Lock him up. Lock him up. He was click, clack, locking dudes up. I said, okay, we got us something here. It ain't the off season. It's not camp. It ain't even the preseason I'm worried about. I'm worried about when the bullets start flying and this man goes in to make a tackle or he goes up to defend the pass and he's landing, that he doesn't hit his noggin, his brain gets shooken up, and he's got another concussion. That's, knocking a little bit of wood here. That's what I'm concerned about. Never once did I question that man's ability to play the game last season. He made a believer out of me, okay, in that regard. What were we doing all year last year in the Mob Squad watching the game, Condo P? You remember, we were putting up the juice box emojis, right? Every time he made a play, we was putting up a juice box. And we put up a lot of juice boxes last year early in the season when he was getting run. it wasn't about his ability to play. So whether he's in the slot, as we've heard this year, against bigger, slot receivers, I think that's going to be his task and chore. But or he's playing outside as a boundary corner. Either way, I got confidence in his ability. I just need him to stay healthy, man. That's the biggest knock on him. Same with Sam Cosmi. I never once last year did I doubt Sam Cosmi. I didn't think he was the strongest in the run game. It turned out that was his best attribute. He was mauling dudes in the run game. And I remember, saying how great of an athlete he was, but he was a finesse guy. And I remember him, being one of the strongest players on the team, and Brandon Sheriff saying, man, this dude jumped in his first day in the weight room and he's squatting and benching as much as me. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And he quickly announced himself like, hey, I'm one of the strongest dudes on this team. Recognized. And it translated to the football field. He was mauling dudes in the run game, in addition to being an effective pass protector. And quickly I said, all right, we got something over here on the right side in Sam Cosmi. But he just wasn't healthy for the vast majority of the season. So, again, these guys proved that they could play last year. We just need to see them healthy. That's it. All right. I think that was the last super chat. And we have one more here from Aaron JCB. Thank you for the super chat, Aaron JCB. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Aaron JCB, writes, if Jack flops this year, who's your next defensive coordinator? I mean, again, you're assuming that this man is getting fired. I mean, well, who's to say that Ron gets rid of him? I don't know that he's gone if this defense underachieves again. Ron could do what he did last year and blame it on the players for being immature and not, taking the coaching. So I don't know if he'll be the one that has to fall on the sword or what, but I can tell you this. If he doesn't get it done and Ron feels like he's to blame, which I don't think it's going to happen, but if Ron thinks he's to blame and they severely underachieve, because look, if the defense stinks again this year, all right, we need answers. Somebody's got to pay, right? Like this year, we won't take the, guys are immature, this, that. Okay, why are they being immature? Why are they not getting it? If they're not getting it, put somebody else in that will. Like I'm not here for the excuses anymore. That's what losers do. Losers create and make up excuses. Winners find a way to get shit done. You don't want to get the job done. You're not listening to what we want you to do. All right, next man, get in there. All right. So I'm not trying to hear about these guys aren't doing this or doing that. Find a way to get your best players in the best positions for them to succeed. If he can't do that and Ron is looking for a scapegoat and he decides to move on from Jack Del Rio, I think you need to go in a younger direction. I think Ron is set in his ways. He's an older coach, been around the block. And one thing about coaches who have done it multiple times, they are shaped much like, and I told you, sports is a microcosm of life. As individuals, we are shaped and molded by our experiences in life. So you approach things based off of past experiences. If you haven't experienced it before, then maybe you go off of someone else's experience and what they've told you. And if you don't have any experience in that department, then you have to figure it out for yourself. Well, Ron has experience already. He's done this once before. So he came into this opportunity in Washington with a whole different mindset. One of the things he said right out of the gate was, we're not going to be an old football team. I did that in Carolina. It got me in trouble. It ultimately got me fired. I'm not doing that, which is why we don't go after older free agents, which is why the Anthony Barr thing doesn't make a ton of sense to me, because he's 30 years old. That doesn't fit the timeline of what we're doing here in Washington. That said, if you can't get the most out of this defense, I want them to go with a younger defensive coordinator. I want a fresh, innovative guy that's on someone's staff that's coaching up defenses really well. Like, you know what? You know who would be a great promotion from within? Because that kind of seems like the move Ron would make. If you go off of his old track record, when the Bills head coach got hired from Carolina. He hired from within. He promoted from within. And Steve Wilks ended up being his new defensive coordinator. He ends up getting the job in Arizona, and then he promoted from within again. And Washington became his new defensive coordinator, and he stunk. Ron had to take over, and but that's what Ron did. When McDermott got the job in Buffalo, he promoted Steve Wilks. Wilks got the job in Arizona, and then he promoted one more time from within, and it didn't work. I could see them promoting from within. I would love Chris Harris, our defensive backs coach, to be our new defensive coordinator. If you want me to be honest with you, you want to keep the continuity. You want a guy that's been here, that understands the strengths of all the guys on the defense, not just the guys in the secondary, and a fresh set of eyes and maybe a different perspective on what should be done. I think you could stay in house and you could just promote Chris Harris from within. But we're not at that point yet. I'm not running Jack out of town because of what he said. I'm more perturbed with Jack because this defense hasn't been as advertised since he got here. Even in 2020, when the defense was playing lights out ball, it was because we were playing against lesser than stellar quarterbacks in the league. We got rookie Jalen Hurts. We got, Andy Dalton and Ben DiNucci and Ryan Finley and, Nick Mullins. Like, these were the teams that we and the quarterbacks we were feasting off of. So I want to see this defense play to its full potential. And if it can't do that, then maybe there does need to be a new voice in there. Maybe there does need to be a new coach calling the plays and pulling the strings. But I'm not at that point yet. But I'm not happy with the product that we put on the field defensively. I'm not happy. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. See where we are. Thought that was the last super chat. I see one more now, so I'll take that one. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Metaphor writes, new mascot will not be Sergeant Swine. No, it will not be Sergeant Swine. Would have been a great name for a hog, though. Sergeant Swine. But it will not be a hog. I do not think that is the case. After that was probably my biggest takeaway from the night. Some of the gems dropped on the melon were about the uniform and about the process, this, that, and the third. But I think the biggest gem that he might have dropped of the night was the fact that the mascot is going to represent the future. Hogs doesn't do that. So Sergeant Swine, I don't think, is in line to be the new mascot. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. So that was the last super. We will get out of here. I appreciate y'all chopping it up with the kid on this late impromptu. It really wasn't impromptu. You knew I was going to do a show tonight, or at least I told you I was. And you know what Thursdays usually represent. And, unless there's some kind of extenuating circumstance like last week where the NBA Finals was on a Thursday. So I was like, I kind of don't want to go up head to head with the NBA Finals because I actually want to watch it myself. So we did it on Wednesday. But back to normal this week. I was running a little bit behind, obviously, because of where I had come from. And so I'm glad you were able to come chop it up with the kid on a late night edition of the Command Post Live. That said, we will get out of here. I'm looking forward to enjoying the weekend. Hope you do the same. Game 4 of the NBA Finals is Friday. Then Game 5 will be on, I want to say Monday. And then Thursday, if they need Game 6. And then Sunday, if they need Game 7. So looking forward to, watching Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Kind of recalibrating, catching myself after a hectic week. And then we'll come back and hit it again next week. Hard, aggressive. And the only way we know how, man, which is Mob Squad style. So in any event, I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, post up and take command. I got a couple of supers on the way out the door. One from Luck. Thank you for the super chat, Luck. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Right. No, it wasn't. Come back. Sure. So, yeah. Like I said, we tackled everything we needed to tackle again. So Luck also writes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Luck, who writes, so what do you think about global warming? I can tell you this. It's real. Global warming is real, but I don't really have a lot more to add to that. But for those of you who don't think it's a real thing, try again. It's a real thing. Anyway, Condo P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Condo P, greatly appreciate you. Who writes, for my big brother, Sonny. My guy, Big Money Sonny. Shout out to Big Money Sonny. Thank you for that super chat, Condo P. And shouting out our guy, Big Money Sonny, and the Cherry Squad. You know what it is. Got another one here from Carlton Pagano Jackson, my guy, CPJ. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, cherries for the Cherry Squad. Thanks, Lou. Love you, dog. Likewise, CPJ. Truly do appreciate you. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Metaphor, writes, it's more like global defrosting. Yeah, but this isn't the ice age, you know. There's weird stuff happening with the weather. When I was growing up, it was never 75 degrees in February. Okay, that just didn't happen. And we weren't in May and we weren't having 42-degree days. Again, there's funky stuff going on, and there's only one way to really explain it. So I digress. We could definitely have a discussion on global warming, but Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Luck just writes a bunch of cherries. It was funny. Me and my wife were having a laugh at the expense of the Cherry Squad because my son, one of the twins, my son, we were giving him medicine and he's gobbling it up. And she was like, cherry medicine was the absolute worst as a kid. That, to me, that and grape. Right? But my son is killing it because, I mean, he's a baby. So anything tastes good to him at this juncture. So he's gobbling up this cherry medicine. And she's like, bless his heart. That medicine is disgusting. I'm like, amen to that, sis. Like, I don't know how you do it, but he was killing it. And it just made me think of y'all and, you know, Condo P and her sparkling cherry water. And all of y'all talking about all of this cherry Kool-Aid, black cherry Kool-Aid. Anyway, I digress. You guys are hilarious. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Metaphor writes, JDR says it's just a global dust up. Mic drop. Hey, that global warming is just a little dust up, man. Nothing to see here. Yeah. You know, climate's changing. We're having weird shit happen. It's just a dust up. Nothing to be worried about. 500 years from now, the planet will be fine. Carlton Pagano Jackson, my guy, CPJ. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, CPJ. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, CPJ writes, Metaphor and Luck. Stop. I got this. Cherry Squad. All right. So he's got the cherries going. You guys are hilarious. Y'all kill me dead when y'all are trying to be the last ones. Like, obviously, people want to be first, but you guys have created this new thing where you want to be last. and you're out trying to outdo yourselves. That's hilarious to me. Ben Willard, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Ben Willard, writes, hey, Lou, I was just checking to see if you were still live. I feel bad for you, man. Got to get that sleep. You know what's crazy is after this, I don't think I'm going to go to sleep. I think I'm going to end up doing some card videos. So I need sleep because I got stuff to do. But this is what I tell myself when situations like this present themselves. I'll have time to sleep this weekend. We won't have kids. We're going to be lucky this week. You know, grandparents are stepping up and being clutch and MVPs and taking the little ones off our hands. So it'll just be me and the missus this week. And so we'll have plenty of time to sleep this weekend. So I just got to push through. I got shit to get done. And it's not going to get done by me going to sleep. So I'm gonna get the stuff done that I need to get done. So you wanna play hard, you gotta work hard first. And I love to play hard. Don't get it twisted. But I also work hard. Y'all know that though. I don't have to tell you that. But I'll get it done. I'll get it done. But I appreciate you checking on the kid. You know, because I don't know. I don't think it was last episode, but maybe the episode before. But your kid was out on his feet. You know, then you can see it. And a lot of y'all was like, yo, this dude is asleep. Okay, this dude is over here struggling. That's not the case tonight. So appreciate you checking on me, Ben. Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Luck writes, new 6K credit card limit. We here all night, Lou. I beg of you, please, for the sake of your credit score, do not spend all of your credit limit super chatting. Okay. There are much better things that you can do with your money than super chatting. Okay. But I love the fact that you got a 6K credit card limit. I don't know if that's legitimate or not, but that's good stuff if you do. So anyway, I digress. I appreciate you, Luck. I appreciate you, CPJ, and all of y'all for holding the kid down. Metaphor, all of y'all. Ben Willard, appreciate y'all. Joe Rockhead J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Joe Rockhead J, writes, wake all the commanders. Time to win a new day. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And it is a new day. And listening to Jason Wright tonight and just being in that environment. And I always guard against being in environments like the one I was at yesterday, because I know I'm surrounded by diehards that will support the team no matter what and won't question. And that wasn't everyone there. I don't want to speak for everyone that was in attendance, but 95% of the people that were at the event that I was at tonight, they're going to take whatever the organization gives them with a Coke and a smile. And they're not going to push back. They're going to continue to support. They're going to continue to donate their time, their energy, their resources, because their support is unwavering. And while I'm one of those people as well, from a standpoint of I'm never going to quit on the organization, I'm not going to be positive all the time. And you get people, you're so negative. You're instead of building the team up, you want to tear them down. No, you want to wear rose-colored glasses and act as if everything is all right with an organization that has been one of the worst in football for the last 20 plus years. I'm not here to do that. And I'll never do that. And that's why a lot of y'all love me, because y'all know that ain't what I'm about. I'm going to give it to you real, straight, and a lot of times with no chaser. And for some, they can't handle that. And that's okay. I'm not for everybody. And I never claimed to be. But listening to Jason Wright, it is a new day. And I've said this, and some of y'all killed me for this, including my guy. He didn't kill me. King of the North just was like, yo, usually we on the same, we on the same plane. Right now, you kind of a little out there right now, because I'm not buying this Carson Wentz shit. I'm not buying this team being any good. I don't buy us winning double-digit games. This is what they've, trained me to believe. All right. I get it. I totally understand. And I'm not mad. But I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. And some of you are like, I ain't giving them the benefit of the doubt as shit. I'm not mad at you. I totally get it. But this is all brand new. You got a new quarterback. You got a better roster. It's not a brand new roster, but it's a better roster. You have a new identity, a new moniker, new team nickname, new uniforms, new look, new everything. Just don't have a new stadium, but it's a chance to start anew. And Ron keeps talking about leaving the past in the past. Impossible, Ron. Impossible. But what you can do is start to forge new memories that allow us to leave the past where it belongs, but also reflect, acknowledge, and stop having us continue talking about the past because we don't have present and future memories to discuss or a future to look forward to. I'm going to give them an opportunity to forge a brand new path, to change the narrative. It's up to them to do it, but I'm going to do my part by giving them the chance to do so. Anyway, I digress. Carlton Pagano Jackson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, CPJ, thank you for the super chat that writes, mic drop. That's how it sounds when you drop the mic and it has the little distortion. That was his mic drop. That was probably supposed to be it. Then I went off on a little mini rant, tangent, and then it wasn't it. I appreciate you, though. That might be your mic drop. That's your last one. I appreciate you, CPJ. Tell the wife I said what's up as well. My guy, Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Metaphor writes, need that 6K limit for bail after an Eagles game. That's absolutely spot on correct. When we're dealing with luck, all bets are off in the parking lot after games. So yeah, you might need that little bit of extra space there to get you out of the cellar, because they reportedly, I don't know if that's the case in the link, but they had a jail under the vet. So I'd hate to see you end up there. But it's good to know you've got a little bit of extra bread to be able to bail yourself out in case you find yourself in a bit of a jam. Thank you for the super chat, God, Metaphor. Condo P, my girl, Condo P. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Condo P writes, I don't want to leave, but no squad. I gotta go right now. I'll be back before you know it. Another R&B gem for your melon. All right. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be honest with you though. I was never really a big Trey Songz fan. Never really was a big Trey Songz fan. That might be a little bit like of a surprise to some of you, but I wasn't. But there were a couple. My favorite one was what was the name of that song? I can hear the song in my head. I can't think of the name of the dang old song. Anyway. Luck. Can't Help But Wait was the name of the song. That was my favorite Trey Songz song. Can't Help But Wait. Love that song. But don't love Trey Songz. Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Luck writes, please don't go. Please don't go. Oh. Y'all been dropping some gems tonight, man. I told you we're going to end up doing this R&B stream. We're going to do it on a different platform. I'm not going to bore all the people who aren't massive R&B fans to death with that. We'll do that on a different platform, and I will notify you guys of it, because now this is the thing. Y'all are some cheaters out there, right? Because y'all, if I play something y'all can just, with technology, you can just say, have your phone be ready and say, hey, what song is this? And it'll tell you the song and you'll act like you know the song. So some of y'all are some cheating ass bastards out there. But I want to test some of y'all and see what y'all about, because I think some of y'all out there, y'all fronting on the kid. All right. I think y'all fronting on the kid. But we're going to see. I know some of y'all know y'all stuff. Some of y'all, not exactly. Not exactly. Anyway, I digress. Got another one here from Joe Rockhead J. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Joe Rockhead J. Might be tripling up. Feel like that's a double up. Either way, thank you for the super chat, Joe Rockhead J, who writes, Lou, you were supposed to sing that like Teddy P. I did. I said Condo P. That's Teddy P. Turn him off. I did. Oh, man. Anyway, I digress. All right, that's the last one. Y'all get out of here. Get y'all some rest. I will continue to work because that's what I do. And I will see you guys on the other side of the weekend. Enjoy your weekend thoroughly. I will. Hope you do the same. We'll come back refreshed and ready to do it again with the podcast on Monday, among other things. And we will do this thing, the Command Post Live, again next Thursday, barring an NBA Finals Game 6. If there's a Game 6, then this show will be moved to next Wednesday. So keep that in mind, but I will remind you before then anyhow. Until then, you guys take care. And as always, God bless and good night. Snuck in the last one. Psych. One more question from Luck. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. I was just about to hit the button to wrap up the stream, and you sent that one in there. Thank you for the super chat, Luck. Go to bed, Luck. Okay. Y'all take care, man. Love y'all to death.